Hello, hello. Apologies for the slight delay. I left at about noon and it's about 1:17 now. We're having people over later and I needed to finish getting ready and some things took longer than I thought. And I knew we were just getting back to design anyway. So hi, Skeleseller. Yeah, so where we left off this morning was I was talking about how to revamp the treasure system, which hasn't even been fully coded yet, but has been coded enough to the point where I think we could discern there are some problems with it, and we started to address them, and we need to answer some remaining questions. Hey, Matt, hope it's all fallen into place. There hasn't been much work, I think, since you were last here, because I took my lunch break about half an hour after your last message. So it is starting to fall into place, but it's going to take some time. What is going on here? What is going on here? Strange. Maybe I accidentally closed the project or something. Okay, yeah, here we go. Yeah, so let's see. Where's my where I left off thing? Be productive. I'm gonna go be productive. Hopefully work is productive for all of us. Yeah, thank you, Matt. I hope it's productive for you too. Yeah, and I think we'll eventually settle on something. My main concern is just how long it's taking to do all of this stuff. We've been making progress though, and I shouldn't fixate on it for too long. So yeah, what did I say here? This will work, but I think we need to simulate what this would look like from the player perspective, and then we would need to figure out keys. Keys may not make total sense the way they're planned. Should you get them through some other means? So you can click an item display and see a dialog for purchasing a chest and setting the item that you'll get. I'm just worried this isn't the most straightforward way of doing things. Maybe you could set this in one spot for all of your adventurers. What if you set this in, well, but you might want different chests to do different things, and that way you can boost up many different adventurers. You may want a random option rather than being forced to pick something. You may also want to apply this to all displays rather than individual ones. In which case there would be a treasure room wide character selector. Oh man. I'm a little concerned. I guess you'd never have to click this. You would have to click it to buy the treasure chest eventually. We make this highlightable. You hover over it, it outlines itself. You click it. It asks, do you want to buy a chest here? You pick the options. And I can have an auto purchase thing somehow. I think that's fine, but all it's doing is choosing which item, which class this is generating items for. So there's a chance to drop an item. Maybe it's like 100% chance to drop one item and then some chance to drop extra items. And you're rolling for the chance to drop extra items. Maybe there are two rolls that happen. One that's guaranteed for X items and a Y% chance for Z more items. Hey, Luca. Welcome back in. Yeah, I don't know why that dialogue makes me a little uneasy, that it'd be too much complexity. Choose which adventurer's item you want to find. You wouldn't even know how this room works yet. Maybe this is something you unlock after understanding how this works. Yeah, this would have to be a perk, I think. The character selector would have to be a perk. Until then, there would just be a purchase dialogue. A purchase button, not even a dialogue. Yeah. Then you click this and you see there's a perk, costs like 2,000 gold, and it says allows you to pick which adventurer item starts in a chest. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I'm pretty happy with that then. So I think that's a conclusion here. So the treasure chest displays will have a buy button or dialogue that lets you purchase a chest. There will be a perk that will add a character selector for each display. That way you can influence the starting items in the chest. And that's where we copy this. Rationale. Influencing items is something I assume players will want to do, because without that ability, they like probability would dictate that their entire group of adventurers would level somewhat evenly. That's not how people tend to use wisdom sludge. So I assume it's not how people would want to power up their adventurers via loot. That's the part about influencing it. And then hiding the influence behind a perk will let players learn how treasure works. Without having added complexity. Okay, so keys. I think we've talked about this enough. In fact, all of this should go up here, right? Yeah, good. Okay. So what do keys do? Because we just changed it so that the keys don't need to influence what type of item you find at a base. So now that you can pick which base chest you want, keys don't have to provide different item types. Keys don't necessarily have to. Also, the longer a chest takes to open, the more keys you can put into it. So raising the time on a chest could be interesting. Raise the time it takes to open a chest. And is there a problem with key collection? There a problem with key collection. Does the weapon grinder still make sense? All right, so we talked about a few different things here. I mentioned this up here. This is one such style that we could do. So we could say something like yellow key -1 minute to the opening time, no special modifiers. Red key -1 minute to the opening time. I guess we could just say all keys give -1 minute unless otherwise specified. All keys subtract 1 minute from the opening time unless otherwise stated. So yellow key is just the default key. The red one could say an X% chance to drop plus X% chance to drop the item plus X amount of the item that it can drop. Add another item type that has the same drop stats. All right, so skeletons are going to automatically move these keys to the chests anyway, so that if you weren't to touch anything, you would still get a decent amount of items. So I actually don't really think this is problematic. Yeah, I don't think this is problematic. I think that structure could work. Green keys would be very valuable. Skeleton keys wouldn't be a thing anymore. The concept of just opening a chest immediately wouldn't really mean anything. Yeah, sure, you're speeding it up, but you're also not improving the loot. Maybe we say that the skeleton key immediately opens and cranks everything up to maximum. Skeleton key could do a little of everything and immediately open the chest. Green keys would be very valuable. Maybe this happens like crops happen. What's X% chance to drop the item? Okay, so let's kind of simulate how this works. So here's how this would work from a player perspective. You unlock the treasure room. You see a treasure chest display and understand that you can click it. I mean, this stuff is we teach the player about it. So you buy your first chest for 500 gold. Because you have no perks, it randomizes the character selection and chooses the witch doctor. So now the item inside the chest would show like this. Like 10 minutes remaining until opening. Item inside like witch doctor's skull or something like that. Or like enchanted skull, which would be plus power and life for the witch doctor. And then it would say it'd have nothing else. So now as you bring various keys to it, it starts changing the drop rates. So a red key would be like plus 25% chance to drop one more skull. And then you bring another red key and it's like plus 50% chance to drop one more skull. 9 minutes remaining. 8 minutes remaining. Blue key would be like plus 50% chance to drop 2 skulls. 7 minutes remaining. You put a green key in, and now it is 50% chance to drop 2 more skulls and 2 of another item. 6 minutes remaining. And then you just wait 6 minutes, and out pop, you get 3 skulls and 2 cloaks or something. Okay, this system works, but what are people going to do? How are they going to interact with it? Will they ever actually drag keys to specific chests? Will that matter to people? Because you'll see a chest here, and it's going to say, there'd be some indication that like, okay, this is for the witch doctor, I guess. And it's just like what we talked about. You got about 9 minutes remaining. So you start getting some keys, and you drag one here. This one's just going to lower the time. So now it's at 8 minutes. We drag another one there. It's at 7 minutes. The worker brings one there. It's at 6 minutes. So this is just a way of us getting our one item out of this chest. None of those keys really helped. In fact, I wonder if there even should be a basic key or if that's kind of silly. All right, but anyway, once you start getting rarer keys, which I never answered how you got the rare keys. How do you get rarer keys? This is working, right? It's probably working. I see what's happening. The font size is changing. Or not the font size, the width of the characters is changing. So it's changing the size of the progress bar. All right, that's a bug we have to fix. The width of the characters within a treasure progress bar can change. which is a no-no. Is that happening at every Zoom level? Yeah, it looks like it is. Yeah. Seems to happen at every Zoom level. Just watch at like 3 minutes, 30 seconds. All right, so like I said, you'd be getting keys. You'd have this thing be automated. It'd just be pumping out like a red key, a green key, whatever. And there'd usually be workers walking over there to go pick them up and just automatically put them in some chest. They're not going to apply any special logic. You could. I don't know if you will. And I think that's the big question here. Like, will a player be interested enough to use these keys on their own? Skeletons are going to do this automatically anyway. I feel like the choice is maybe not interesting enough. Choice doesn't seem interesting enough. Yes, a chest may take like 10 keys before it opens, and you could try to optimize the loot. But it's just like anything else in the game. Maybe we just leave that to the player, though. If they don't feel like optimizing it, they don't feel like optimizing it. So fine. Then every once in a while, their workers will just bring it to the wrong sort of thing, and it'll give them slightly fewer items. But if they do want to max it out, then they can choose which keys to put where. Yeah, I think that could work. You can overload the red keys. Like at X, let's say X is, I guess it's gotta start at some base chance. X starts at say 10% and goes up in increments of 30%. So 3 keys, 3 red keys will guarantee another drop. Plus X items. So you'd probably want to, I guess the blue and green keys are, I guess all of these keys are actually pretty important. Okay, I guess it is a little bit interesting. Because even as I'm looking at this now, I'm like, oh, I guess there is a decent amount of choice that you'd have. And we need to figure out what the upgrades are for these things too. Like what perks will we have? I think a yellow key though is not interesting. And if it's the only kind of key you end up getting, maybe we phase those out after some time. So at first you're getting yellow keys just because they open the chest faster, but then they stop dropping. Alternatively, the yellow key could do something else. It could add gold to the chest. It could make other rare items drop. What is this button in my chat? Oh, it's Twitch chat was like, this button was pushed upward because of a notification dot. Yeah, you eventually wouldn't want that. Maybe what we do, yeah, okay, so here's something I could definitely see happening. In the what perks do we have section, we could say increase the chance of finding a rare key. This should eventually get to 100% so that you never find yellow or like the default key again. Yeah. So yellow keys are just a nuisance basically, but you eventually phase them out, so it doesn't really matter. So then you're only finding red, blue, green, and skeleton keys. Maybe skeleton keys are based on how much time is remaining. Maybe the bonus is based on how much time is remaining. So you would use them on like brand new chests and get a little of everything. Maybe it guarantees one of each class's item. Or like, yeah, I don't know. We'll figure that out. Yeah, this is kind of interesting. So it's like a build up your own loot box by what keys you put into it. So I guess what happens if you what happens if you just keep throwing in green keys? It's basically like doubling the chest. So they should probably be pretty rare. Yeah, these should be like the most common of the rare keys. Rarity breakdown. So we first roll for whether the key will be rare. Maybe it's a 20% chance at first, which you can upgrade to 40, 60, 80, 100. Okay, then if it's rare, we roll the color. And we probably say something like this. 35% red, 35% blue. So now we have 20%, or sorry, 30% remaining. So 20% green and 10% skeleton. Skeleton is a color, by the way. Something along these lines. And you can never modify these percentages. So eventually every key you find is going to be rare. And that means that 1 out of every 10 keys you find will be a skeleton key. 1 out of every 5 keys you find will be a key that will double the item drops, basically. And then these will improve the chance and how many of those items drop. I think this is cool. I think this is interesting. I think we've got something here. This is starting to feel better, but we need to answer the other questions too. So how about we write this down for a conclusion? Keys are made from the weapon grinder. And then we just copy paste all of this stuff. Rationale. This system has some interesting choices while still allowing it to be fully automated or even completely ignored. You could just open chests by waiting them out. Yeah. Interesting. A perk to auto open the chest. I didn't talk about that, right? Auto open chests when ready. Auto purchase new chests. Increased chance of finding a rare key. All right, all right. This is coming together. This is coming together. So how do you get rare keys? We said they just happen by default. Yeah. Combos of keys, etc. 1 key per adventure. Not necessarily matters. Force you to combine keys. You can choose which keys you're making. Yeah, so I think this is good. We can put this up here now. Yeah, we put this here. Oh, the character selector thing. Atreus. Red, blue, green, skeleton. So the A stands for anatomy this whole time? Yep. People said it was alpha, but those people are just idiots. Oh darn it. I had a very real thought you just pushed out. Hang on a second, let me try to retrieve that thought. Oh yeah, the perk about choosing adventures. Yeah. Allow for choosing which adventure item a chest will start with. Maybe allow for a key's effect to be applied from the get-go between red, blue, and green. This would devalue red keys, which can't do anything beyond a certain amount. You know what I kind of want is there to be like an X% chance to get Y keys. So let's say it's a 20% chance to get 1 key. And I want for this to be able to go to like 120% chance. And what that means is that you have a guarantee of 1 key and then a 20% chance of another. How do you frame that in a way that makes sense to a player? I guess you could just break this down, and every time you hit 100% again, you keep saying like you are now guaranteed to find 3 keys, and then you get it again, and now you're guaranteed to find 4 keys. I think that's how I want to do that. Yeah, note, I think I want this to be framed to the player such that this can go beyond 100% and just guarantee another drop. In other words, it would actually start at 110%, meaning you will always get one item and have a 10% chance to roll another. That way, red keys can infinitely be helpful. Well, not infinitely, but can be an unlimited number of red keys can be helpful. Yeah. All right, so is there a problem with key collection? Does the weapon grinder still make sense? If the extractor still makes sense in the late game, then I think the weapon grinder still makes sense. So at first you're just finding keys and they're not necessarily even all that good, but they're just speeding up the treasure chest system. In fact, you know what we could do? We could have it be that you unlock the treasure chest system sooner and it's just really bad. No, that's stupid. That's stupid. It doesn't have to be really bad, but I guess you already get enough other ways to address the power level of your adventurers. So what am I concerned with here? Just have like more key storage slots. What am I concerned with? I guess not really anything that can't be addressed later. So I don't think there's a problem. The weapon grinder is only used for keys. So if we want to produce more later in the game, that would be okay. You are limited by how many slots you have in the key storage, though, and they don't stack. So we could put some like shelving unit there and just not allow them to stack. And that way you could fit like 20 keys. Yeah, we'll need to figure that out, but that can be changed later. All right, what else? What else? What else? What else? Can you see the contents of a chest before you open it? Would this even change your behaviors at all? Well, now you chose the contents of the chest, essentially. And the other item can be random. So I think we will say this up here. And we'll say this doesn't really make sense as much as a question now that you're choosing which loot to start with. Green keys can give you other items which don't need to be revealed ahead of time. All right, so perks, what happens? Okay, let's answer this sort of some of the easy questions. So basically, let's leave perks till the end. All right, what happens if a chest would drop an item for an adventurer you don't have? So we only really have 2 options here. It's don't let that happen, which I don't think is a good option. If we went this route, it would mean that you might feel bad about getting an adventurer, knowing that they're now part of the pool. Getting the perk to select a specific adventurer sort of negates this decision entirely anyway. Yeah, so this is really only a question for before you can afford that perk that lets you pick. So in essence, at this point in the game, you'll probably have like 7 adventurers anyway. So in other words, you have 3 not on your team. 3 adventurers you haven't hired. So should we stop you from getting their items? Not going to matter eventually anyway. Yeah, I think it'd feel bad if this system you just got gives you items that you can't use. You'd be playing for long enough at this point where you're probably not going to like quit over it, but it still feels bad. So I actually do kind of think we lean toward this option. Now, if you somehow got to this point and you only had 4 adventurers, you might never need to unlock that perk that lets you pick. But then you only have 4 adventurers, so you're presumably not going as fast through the game as other people are. Plus, how much could that perk possibly cost? Yeah, okay. I think I'm convinced with this one. So treasure chest, where did I write this down? They'll have a buy button or dialogue that lets you purchase a chest. There will be a perk that will add a character selector for each display. That way you can influence the starting item of the chest. It will have a random option, which is what's chosen by default. Especially crunch time. It's crunch time for the next few months. Hey, Pretzel. Especially if you don't have the perk, which will choose an item from the adventurers you already hired. So only picking items from adventurers you've hired is so that this system doesn't feel bad when you first unlock it. Plus, there will be a perk to dictate. There'll be a perk to negate this decision anyway. I guess I should say it this way. The perk that allows you to choose an adventurer, a base item in the chest, negates this decision anyway. Yep. Hey, Warner. Been a while since I logged on to Twitch. How's everything going? It's going really well. Short story to sum up the last like 2 months is Next Fest happened. Actually, that's not even 2 months ago. That was 1 month ago. Man, it's been time's been all over the place. All right, so Next Fest happened. It wasn't great. It kicked my butt into gear for marketing. I reached out to YouTubers. It sort of caught on. We like quadrupled our numbers. And the general feedback has been, I want more of the game. So then we went to the design drawing board and figured out like what can we do. We came up with what is the treasure system in the game. And the treasure system is only like partially coded right now. And there are some ideas that I've only just started talking about this morning that are kind of already in, but not really in. So here's how this is going to work. You will purchase a treasure chest. So imagine that instead of this thing just appearing, I clicked a buy button and it cost me whatever, 500 gold. So then the chest will just appear here and it's got a timer counting down. This timer is how long it's going to take before you can open it. But you can find keys and your workers will automatically throw keys into the chest that will lower that time. So if I drag a key up here, I can lower this time myself. And if I keep, putting more and more keys up here, then we can eventually get to this point where it can open. Once you open it, it's going to pop into a bunch of different items that you can find. And these items are going to increase the power of some of your adventures. So that's the general system. Hey, copy paste this from a fellow friend. Did someone else type that already? No. Yeah, so anyway, that's what we've been working on. The treasure system. And then after this, we're going to work on challenge modes, which will be a replayability feature. How was your last, let me find out exactly how long. How has your last 3 months and 2 days been? All right, we're just going through the questions that remain for the game design of this. I think I finished typing out this rationale. The thing about negating the decision? Yeah, nice. Ah, there we go. Hey, Kevin. Posted. There's a Discord group out there with 3 people just coming up with messages to type into chat. Yeah, I think this is good. All right, can you sell these items that drop? They'd probably need to be in their own category. Yeah, so let's talk about this now. I don't know what the answer to this should be yet. You have 0 proof of this. Lunch was good. It was a little longer than I thought. And that's not really a complaint, but I wanted to start the stream sooner. We're having friends over later today to play the Slay the Spire board game. And they come over at 6. And it is currently 2. So I got 4 hours between work and then prep and then relaxing. This week has been going a mile a minute. We went out last night with some friends. We went out on like Monday with friends. Something happened on Sunday. Oh yeah, that's right. We went out with some friends. And it's nice. Don't get me wrong. I like spending time with our friends. I'm also a very introverted person and there's a lot going on outside of that stuff. Pretty chill, kind of on holiday through Europe and now have a bunch of pending work. Oh, cool. I mean, the holiday through Europe part is cool. The bunch of pending work sounds sucky. But then again, you have the perfect job. Don't you forget. You can never complain about your work. Change the structure of time and halftime, your own timeline. So you get 8 hours for this. Okay, that sounds good. We'll create time out of thin air. All right, so can you sell these items that drop? There's no way for the items to be unusable. You can, since you can only obtain items for adventurers that you have. However, the way that adventurers use these items now is such that they need to enter town for them to be usable. Hey, NSO, how you doing? Whenever I say your name, I always think of Nintendo Switch Online, which I'm like 90% sure is not what you named yourself after. It's my initials. Well, then your parents named you after Nintendo Switch Online. They went back in time. Correct. I knew it. They were just such big Mario Kart fans. There's no way for the items to be unusable since you can only obtain items for adventures that you have. However, well, that you've hired, I guess I should say. That you've hired. However, the way that adventurers use these items now is such that they need to enter town for them to be usable. I don't think people are going to like this. That's going to involve them leaving battles momentarily. I think we can always add a perk that will just say, like, as soon as you get one of these items, it's automatically used. I can add that as a list in the perk ideas, or a list item. Automatically consume the adventurer items without them needing to be in town. In your current experience with Skeleseller, do you recommend having an open demo on Steam? Oh yeah, like 100% yes. Yeah, I think the demo, so you could kind of consider it to be like 3 launch phases or launch, yeah, pretty much phases on Steam. You could say there is a demo, there is early access, and there is like a full launch. And obviously everyone knows what a full launch is and knows what a demo is. Early access is not super well understood by some people. Some people see it as like a soft launch. And the marketing advice I've read is it isn't a soft launch. It's a full launch from a customer point of view. And they might be willing to forgive a tiny bit. Like, well, it's an early access, so maybe the system's going to change. But in general, there are so many games left in early access that just never leave it, that people just look at it as like, well, this is the game that we got. So the demo is the only way for you to get feedback and reviews and eventually be able to like turn that off if it's bad. You can't do this in any other mode that you have here. If you have if you have a Steam app in full launch, it has to have reviews. You can't turn them off, but you can turn them off for the demo. I wonder if Steam's going to eventually change that. So like the app itself, I haven't launched Skeleseller proper, but we've launched the demo. The demo has reviews. And if these were bad, let's say, we could just turn these off. When you turn them back on, they'll be bad again. You don't delete them. But it is kind of a way of soft launching or testing to see if there's interest. It's also a good way of starting to build your community. It lets content creators cover your game, and then you'll know that if they liked the demo, they're almost certainly going to like the launch, so you can reach out to those people again. Say a demo might get people feeling that the game is not polished enough or professional enough. I think that's why you need a polished and professional demo. Like if you're going to take 24 months working on a game, then the demo should probably happen at like, I don't know, 18 months in or something, where you're like, well, we need some more content, but generally the game is like mostly done. This is just me ballparking it, right? But we did a lot for the demo of the game to try to polish it, to try to make it look good. And I think that paid off quite a lot. And you need to do that work eventually anyway, although by then you'll have known that you have game mechanics you actually like. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's good. And like I said, I think one of the biggest effects is that last one. The biggest benefit, I guess I should say. which is YouTubers who cover the demo will almost certainly cover the launch if they like it. So you essentially have like two ways of marketing your game. So yeah, anyone who covered the version I just released, I'm definitely reaching out to them again when the game launches. I'm gonna be like, hey, here's the key. You already played the game. You already know you like it, and it should be easy peasy. We should get a bunch of views. Okay, so I don't see a reason for you to be able to sell these. You could always dump them in the garbage slime. It's a cool keyboard. This is a corn keyboard. And welcome in, Sire. It is pretty neat. I like it a lot. Which means they need some value, but it should be nominal. Yeah, I don't think this should ever be worth money. Okay, I think that's the conclusion from that then. Okay, the power-up items are not sellable in a shop. They'll have some nominal value from the garbage slime, I guess. And the rationale for this is you can only find items from adventurers that you already have. So we know that they're usable. Yeah, it's just not an interesting decision for you to be able to sell these. I guess it's two different points here. It costs you like 500 gold to get a chest and then some number of keys to open it. So selling the items would have to have a sell value of a high amount to make it worthwhile to even consider. And then finally, and this is a minor thing, but a lot of the items won't be in the weapon, potion, armor category, e.g. a candle or a skull or a feather. Yeah, those items are just not something you'd consider to be weapons or armor or something. Like everything in these rows, these obviously slot into armors. Actually, every single one of those. These weapons, this, you can't really say a quiver is a weapon, but you could see it selling in a weapon shop at least. But then we start getting to weird stuff where like, how would you categorize almost anything in any of these rows except for these final three? They're not weapons, they're not armors, they're not potions. So yeah, I think that's a pretty minor reason though. We could shoehorn them in if we wanted to. Hey, Jane. And we're going to watch a better software conference this week, live and replay. What's that about? I feel like there should be an about thing. Wait a second, what? This page doesn't tell you anything. There's no like, what is the conference? You can just tell what people are talking about, which you could kind of figure out from here, I guess. But like, shouldn't there be like a, what is this all about? It's kind of weird. What are those glow in the dark green items anyway? Bugs me, I can't tell. I'm not sure. You're talking about this row, right? To me, it looks like they're almost like pieces to an artifact or something, and that they should all be able to connect somehow. But I don't know if they actually do connect or what they're supposed to form. So yeah, I don't know. It's a conference by performance-focused game dev mostly. Mostly be looking at the ones by Casey and Bill, the Odin Lane guy. Yeah, I'd be curious to hear what you have to say about it. I probably won't participate or watch or anything, but I don't tend to watch those things to begin with, I guess. Maybe to my detriment. Okay, so we've answered this question. What's the next one? Is there a problem with the player focusing on one kind of adventurer? I already wrote the answer to this right below it, so I guess we don't have anything we need to do there. You can already do this with leveling up via sludge. Also, with increasing costs to get these items, it should be sort of balanced. I guess one of the other questions that I have is this system a fun way to play the latter half of the game? But let's get to that one in a bit. Get back on whether it's worth it. Okay, cool. Yeah. Is it a problem that you'll have to stop auto battling? Probably have to be their top priority. I don't know if it's a problem, but I think people are going to be annoyed by this, and we'll just have a perk that will let you eventually not have to do this. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so the power-up items have to be picked up in town by that adventurer. There can be a perk that makes this that skips this step. Rationale, I just think it's neat. That's really it. I don't really have anything else. It would be their top priority, and no one else would touch it. Touch those items. Yeah. Okay, should a life potion be a general item? No, this is dumb. I already kind of answered why this is dumb. Yeah. All right, what else? How does this change the theming of everything? Let's answer that at the end, because that's not something we really have to think about too much. Or at least it's not going to change the rest of this stuff. Is there any other problem with this system or a way to simplify it? Are you upset when you get an item that isn't on the character you want? Well, now that's not a problem anymore, so I guess we just delete that. But is there any other problem with this system or a way to simplify it? So overview is this. You unlock the treasure room. You can buy chests there. You can build the weapon grinder to make keys out of weapons. Keys can have special properties to change the drop rates, change the loot in a chest. Hey, Rami. Hang on, I haven't finished my overview here. Where is it? All right, so you unlock the treasure room. You can buy chests. You get the weapon grinder to make keys. Keys have special properties to change the loot. The loot will permanently upgrade specific adventurers. And perks will let you do all of this faster / better. Yeah, so that's the overview of the system. When I write it like that, I've maybe oversimplified it, in which case there are no obvious problems from just what's written there. Well, let's think about this a little bit more critically. So you need a steady stream of weapons to feed the grinder to get keys to not have to wait forever for chests to open. I don't think that on its own is a problem, but it does increase the cost. This increases the cost of opening chests. Yeah. But that's part of the reason behind this. This is a gold sink, and it's a great gold sink in the game. It's going to absorb all of your gold. Actually, is there a limit to that? I guess when you feel like when you can purchase enough treasure chests that we need to make it so you can purchase even better ones. Did I write that down here somewhere? Thought I wrote further ideas. Yeah, okay, I did. All right, so another perk could be increase more treasure room slots or displays. The only reason this would be helpful, well, no, there's a lot of reasons. To increase your throughput, to allow you to spend more money, and to give you more options to use keys on. All right, any other things? I kind of mentioned this before, but now potions have a special use and weapons have a special use, but armors don't. Yeah, I think we just ignore that for now. It'll probably be a problem at some point and we just address it then. Alternatively, we just don't call it a weapon grinder. We just call it an item grinder and just move it somewhere else in the world. And then you can bring armors there too, I guess. Is that a better idea to just do from the get-go? I don't know. It would mean that we need to move where this thing is. Well, we don't technically have to, I guess. They could bring armors over here, but if you toggle this thing on or off, then they'd have to walk all the way across the map. There could be 2 weapon grinders, but then we need 2 key storages as well. Having 2 of something is not necessarily a problem. It's just, as a player, I guess you'd have to monitor them both. I never thought about that, though. Yeah, why couldn't we just add an armor grinder? We have the weapon grinder. We just need to copy-paste it and then remove any references to weapon and extract that into 2 different classes. Okay, yeah, well, hadn't thought about it. Let's write it down somewhere. If it's ever a problem that players have too many armor items, we can make an armor grinder behind the armor shop with its own key storage. Alternatively, we could just have a single item grinder. For armors and weapons. Yeah, okay. Okay, any way to simplify this system? Because this is a casual game, I want to make sure this stuff is understandable. And if we get rid of all these treasure chests for now, so you won't start with this many displays in here. Maybe you'll have 1 or 2. So the way I expect this to work is you'll click one of these. It'll pop up a dialog saying, do you want to buy a treasure chest? And you click yes. And then a treasure chest appears. And then from there, you just wait. You don't have a weapon grinder yet. But at some point, you'll get enough money to build the weapon grinder. And then you turn this thing on, and you start grinding some weapons. And then as you grind weapons, you get keys. We haven't gotten any yet. All right, I'll just drag this over there. No, trap. I can't do this. Oh, there we go. We got some keys. Okay, so then with the keys, you can open this a little faster. And then you eventually open this to get the power-up items, which then your adventurers go and consume. Okay, there is one kind of problem with this. Yeah. The only problem I can kind of see is that these rare items would feel rare and would look cool and will eventually, yeah, but we eventually give you a perk that makes them not even show in the world anymore. Hang on 1 second. Abby. Oh, here she is. Hi, Ketso. Want to come up? Hi. No? Okay, whatever. I'll just sit here. She'll eventually be here. Yeah, I like the idea of these items showing up directly in the warehouse. Like, that's a cool... It's cool to see this, and it's cool to see them bring these items somewhere. Maybe they have to bring them to the guild. Maybe the items just need to be brought to the guild. Yeah, I think that would work out pretty well. I like that a lot. Yeah. Yeah. So you don't need your adventurer to leave a battle. So the power-up items have to be brought to the guild. Yeah, for them to be applied to your adventurers. The rationale is these are rare items, so you should be able, well, they're rare, so they should look cool, and that means you should be able to see them move about in classic Skeleseller fashion. The cat just left. I was wrong. She didn't just show up here. All right, so there is no perk to make that automatically happen. I have. Actually, there is another route we could go. So the original design was, what if adventurers had to go into town to equip their own items? And the new design is workers. So I guess it's not what if they had to. And now it's workers can bring those items to the guild. But what if we did both? So it starts with the original design and then you get the perk. Abby, come on. Come on up, cat. Good cat. Hi. Do you want to sit down? Do you want to step all over the keyboard? Come on, Abby. Just stepping on the keyboard. Catso. Good cat. Good cat. Okay, you come over here. Good. Okay. She's nice and relaxed now. And very, very warm. A little too warm for me right now. Heavy driven development. Heavy driven hyperactive development. How do I feel about this? I think I'd rather, just for simplicity's sake, have it be that they're just brought to the guild directly. Yeah. The original, I guess I'll just write further ideas. The original idea here was that you had to bring the adventurer back to town so that they could equip it themselves. I sort of like that idea as a stopgap until you get a perk that allows workers to bring the items to the guild. But I think it's better to simplify it to just going to the guild directly. Oh, cat's so fully relaxed. She's just resting her head up against my arm right now, which means I can't really move this hand off the keyboard. Because if I were to touch the mouse, the angle would change and her head would fall. So let's just not use the mouse, I guess. All right, is this system a fun way to play the latter half of the game? That is a good question. And this is the only true answer to this is playtesting. We'll have to find out. But basically, does the system sound fun? So does this system sound like a fun way to play the latter half of the game? So you buy treasure chests to get power-ups. People do like power progression. We could even have quests require these special items. Yeah, that's another thing I should write down. Quests should be able to require these special adventurer items. Good cat. Yeah. Yeah, you can still move them around. So there's some category of players who they play this game, they kind of assume that there are experience points because why not? There aren't, but they assume that. And then when they find out that there aren't and they see the farm, they're like, oh, I can level up using the farm. I'm getting that immediately because they sort of recognize that like more power is going to mean that I'm fighting battles faster. So when they see the treasure chests are also a way of getting power, I think it's going to feel good. Hi. Hi, cat. You're on camera. Yeah. Hmm. I think that building this up would also feel nice. You already have level ups, but now you would have a way of getting even more stats. The key system is interesting enough while still being ignorable. She's such a precious little baby. Yes, she is. She just wants to be around us sometimes. Like, rarely will she just be in a totally different room if she's not just sleeping there. Oh, okay, it's bathing time. All right, chat, give her privacy. Don't look at her. All right, what perks do we have for all of this? Allow choosing which adventure chest can start with. Auto open chest when ready. To prevent having to manually click. Alternatively, allow workers to open the chest. I kind of like that a little bit better. This would then need to be on their priority list, though. How old is the car? I think she is about 2.5 years old. Maybe 3. Hard to say exactly. I had a cat that could legit be in my lap almost all day. Never had a cat so affectionate. Loved her. Oh, yeah. Yeah, every once in a while, my wife and I will be talking and say, like, we'll be devastated when Abby's gone. Apparently, there's pet cloning for like $150,000 or something where you can get a cat that looks exactly like your old cat, but their personality is going to be totally different, of course. And I just wonder who would pay that kind of money to get a cat that just looks the same. Like, if you could somehow guarantee the same personality, I would totally get that people would probably do that all the time. Well, rich people would do that all the time. But if it's going to have a different personality, then it's like a bad sci-fi movie. Still acts like a kitten. Got the engine purring. Gonna drop an unpopular opinion. Oh, that's definitely unpopular with me. Dogs greater than cats. It is very much the opposite for me. I've just never been a dog person. I think part of it is, I think on average, I don't think this is an opinion, but it might just be an opinion, but I think on average, cats are softer than dogs. And I think it's fun to pet a soft creature. Dogs have kind of coarse fur on average. All right, I think all these are good. The auto purchase new chest thing could be a big gold sink. We would need a lever or something to turn this ability on. Yeah. Just because cats are cleaner. Cats are pretty clean. Abby never smells bad. Like pets that require less training, yeah. Yeah, we didn't have any problems with her from pretty much the day we got her. She's like vomited a couple of times. She got picky about one kind of food we gave her. She likes only expensive cat toys. But in general, we love her. She's great. Cats are like the chill roommate who just kind of hangs around, steals your stuff, and secretly wants to eat you. Don't AMA. Okay, have you had a cat? Because I do think cats get a bad rap from people who they've never owned a cat. Because I think cats are very affectionate toward their owners sometimes, but not to other people. So people just think like, oh, cats are that way even if I owned them. Okay, yeah. I'm not trying to convince you to get one or anything, but I do think that's underpinning that sentiment for other people. Like our cat follows us around everywhere. And like Matt said, his cat would sleep on his lap like all day. But then if you come visit that person's place and they're like, oh my God, I love my cat. And then you see that cat and they just ignore you. You're probably like, I don't get it. Why would people like cats? Like dogs are openly affectionate to everybody, even the person trying to rob your house. Met loads of nice cats. I love cats too. Okay, fine. If you love cats too, then I won't AMA. AYA. All right, so how does this change the theming of everything? You're purchasing chests. Is there still a treasure spirit? Is it strange that you're purchasing a chest that you know contain a certain item? How are keys changing the loot in chests? I guess we can just explain all of this stuff with the treasure spirit. Treasure spirit can still explain all of this somehow. So yeah, I don't think we need to change anything. And that's it. We've answered all of the questions. Honestly, today I think is pretty much just going to have been about game design. Like I have some time in which I can work on this. I am sapped of energy and I need to save some of this for my friends later. But let me at least write in the journal and figure out what should I do after this. So spend most of the day designing, like redesigning the treasure system. Some things just didn't add up. Most notable change, the new system is now a massive gold sink. Maybe a bit biased. Yeah, and also, even if you had a ton of cats and you love them and you still just prefer dogs for some reason, I mean, that's totally fine. I don't think there's a problem with this stuff. I think the only problem is when people start being like cruel to animals. I don't care if someone comes over and they're indifferent to our cat. That is a-okay with me. All right, so we got to file these conclusions somewhere. These are massive. Oh, whoops. Boy. Okay, so major work items. Code all of the new conclusions. I'm having a good time, really, truly. I'm enjoying working on this. And the redesigns I just see as part of you try something out, you come up with a question, you realize I don't have an answer for that. So you go back to the drawing board. But I just want my pace to be faster and I don't know how to achieve that. Someone catches claws being different than a cat though? No, I wouldn't. I would actually be mortified. But our cat's been very gentle and nice. And actually we've had our board game night now for a couple weeks. And she went and sat on one of our friends' laps twice now, I think. Just like fell asleep there. It still says Thursday. Okay, so let's open the calendar. How long do I need in order to design challenge modes? Because we have 3 weeks left in July. I'm counting August 1st. That's fine. It's July 32nd. We have 3 weeks left in July. And I think most of it can be for the two things I wanted, treasure and for challenge modes. Treasure is probably going to take at least until Thursday now because of these new system changes I made. And that's just me ballparking it. Then the design for challenge modes can take 2 days. And then the coding of it can take the rest of the month. Yeah, I think if I work really hard, I think we can do this. When a spooked cat latched onto my face. Oh, man. I think you mean a car, though. That is an empty schedule. So that's not my actual calendar. That's the iOS or whatever, Mac OS built-in version, the Apple calendar. I have a Pixel phone, so I use Google Calendar. And that calendar is very full looking. But I can't show any of that because it's got a lot of private information, whereas this is completely empty. Other than holidays, which I don't know how to turn off. I don't really care, even if I can. It doesn't matter. HF Halton, yeah, break by break. I got to keep remembering that. And that's why I say it's been fun. It's been enjoyable. I don't feel like this is an overwhelming amount of work. I feel like the amount of time I budgeted for this is maybe not enough. So July was for the not enough game problems. And then August is for figure out what the heck is going on for launch. And then the rest of the time is just do that stuff from August. Oh, that's weird. The brick emote here is different from the brick emote in the reply. Somehow now there are 2 bricks. Huh. Stanley 2 bricks. Well, I am feeling pretty good. So I think let's just chat for a bit because the cat has totally taken over my lap. She's so cute though. But yeah, it'd be hard to code or do anything. That joke. Like Clockwork Orange. Yeah, I should move all this stuff somewhere else. And even this stuff isn't fully done, man. Well, I think I'm going to start working weekends on the lighter stuff. So like marketing, to do management. Do you have an idea for your next game already? Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I've talked about it a little bit. It's going to be called Stuck in a Broken Tutorial. And I have some general ideas. It's like a jokey sort of narrative adventure game maybe. And I think it'll be pretty cool, but I got to spend a lot of time just designing that. Is that what Stanley Parable was about? Because I played it for a little bit and I just didn't get into it. Did they update the wish list? No, unfortunately. If you go to this page, it still has this bright yellow text at the top. Wishlist reporting has been temporarily paused due to exceptionally high traffic during the summer sale. It will be available after the sale is concluded. But the sale ended yesterday and it's not available. It's still locked at 2651, which is what we were at as of June 30th. So it hasn't updated for many days now. It's like a narrative goofy loop. Yeah. I got that from the game because I played for maybe about an hour. I'm not sure because I heard really good things. But yeah, I just wasn't feeling it. I don't know what to expect from the wish list thing. Also, even the number of activations nowadays, it's like there's no more YouTube momentum really. So right now there are 8 players of the game, and the daily active users is dropping because this is an average over 7 days because there's no lifeblood. If you search Skeleseller on YouTube now, all the popular videos are like 2 weeks old. So if you look at ones uploaded recently, it's like 42 views, 3,000. 3,000 is good. 59, 319. Yeah, and that's it. Then all the other videos are just me, which are not meant to get views. They're just me streaming to YouTube because I streamed to Twitch already. I wonder what the most successful game that was made in like less than a year has been in the last 5 years. It's obviously not impossible. I think you got to have a really, really good vision for something. And I wonder how much game design was sort of decided for you by whatever game you're basing it on. Peak. Hey, Jessica. Peak. Oh, yeah. I saw this game. Pige told me about this. This was made in less than a year? Because it could have been, but the environments looked pretty detailed, and I thought that would take them a lot of time. But I guess it depends on how many people were working on it. But yeah, the game looks like it's done well. Obviously, it's done the last 5 years. It's in the last like month. But yeah, the reason I ask about this is because I think a lot of games look like they're going to be small endeavors. And if you were to boil them down to their core mechanic and just fill in some content or something, then yeah, they probably could be done in less than a year. But a lot of these are like, well, just keep adding feature after feature because people want all this stuff. Core game was done in a month starting in February. Team of 4. Wow. Yeah, that's very impressive. It's what makes me think I am just going too slowly here. but I can't fully identify how I could go faster other than maybe use AI in a totally different way. Because, like, I don't think I'm slow at coding. And I don't think I'm dealing with so much tech debt that I'm like constantly refactoring things. So I don't know why I feel like I'm going slowly. Maybe I'm not. And yeah, just the pressure of the game dev world. Isn't that right, Katzo? I wonder if there have been any new forums posts or anything. I don't think so. I think some things are more complicated to balance. You're not going too slow. Yeah. And it's easy to look at the remaining list of things and just be like, wow, there's a ton there. But I think that's inherent to software. Any software project that gets large enough will probably have a backlog that will never get done. Because it'll just keep sort of evolving and you'll never refactor everything. You'll never fix all of the like P3 bugs that you have. Yeah. So if someone has an issue tracker on a major project and it somehow has like 0 issues, it's just because they closed a bunch of them, not necessarily fixing them all. But yeah. All right, I should probably get going. Yeah, so this was a much shorter stream than I expected it to be, but I got done, or well, hopefully done with the design stuff. And all in all, I'm only shortchanging people by about an hour. I'm making the medicine go down more easily. So yeah, let's go find someone to raid. Have a good weekend. Try to relax. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I owe you guys now. Yeah, I'm gonna leave you with Fern. She's been working on. Well, I'm assuming she's working on her own game. She's doing pixel art. She's been working on Bring Me Hope for a very long time. She's been very dedicated. 8-hour streams tomorrow and Sunday. All right, yeah. Thank you all for watching. If you want, here's the Discord link. You can join, and I will see you all again on Monday. Have a good weekend. See ya.